Bad day for entertainment. I should be at work, but instead I'm inexplicably calm and sitting at the kitchen table drinking a cup of freshly brewed coffee. I needed this to calm myself down. I usually found this to be a very peaceful practice. I used to do this regularly when our kids were little. I would get up about an hour earlier than the rest of the household, just to enjoy the quiet. I think it was kind of a hobby of mine. I'm Evan Johnson, by the way, happily married for 25 years. Well, I was happily married a couple hours ago. We have 4 children, the last of whom left home last year. My wife was depressed with empty nest syndrome, I think that's what she called it. So I encouraged her to get a hobby. I think she did. An hour ago, I didn't know his name. His name was Stallion. At least that's what she kept calling him. Do it, Stallion. Come on, baby. Let me watch you swallow it whole. I know you can do it. It was strange that the aroma of my favorite coffee permeating the house didn't interrupt them. Usually when I brewed coffee, my wife Audrey would run downstairs before it was even ready. Anyway, Audrey was very busy, so that might explain why she hadn't smelled it yet. Tell me how much better I am than your spineless weakling husband. Oh my God, you're so much better. My old Smith & Wesson Model 59 loaded, lying on the red oak kitchen table next to my mug. I contemplated whether to put it on the safety and decided to put it on. I had to be careful. Well, it's just in case, but after all, her boyfriend is a cop. How would I know that? Because when I got home early, his uniform and gear belt were strewn across my living room floor, along with all of my wife's clothes, including her black lace Victoria's secret crotchless panties. She had bought them 2 months ago and showed them to me. I immediately got excited and told her to try them on, but she sneered, "Boy, that's for special occasions only." I expected it for our 25th wedding anniversary, which came and went without her wearing them. It's unclear what could be more special than that. My birthday? No, it was 2 days ago. Now I know. That's it, baby. Use me harder, harder. Oh, God, you're so huge. I've never felt anything like this before you came, and thank God you did. The sounds of the bed springs creaking and the banging of the headboard against the wall continuously penetrated my brain. I had a hard time focusing on what I was supposed to do. I wasn't sure how much time I had, but judging by the noise coming from what used to be my bedroom, which, by the way, I would never enter again, I had plenty of time. I knew it wasn't the first time they'd been together, because among other things I heard, "Damn it, baby. We need to find a way to increase our time together to 2 or 3 times a week instead of every once in a while." This was coming from the mouth of my loving wife. At least I think that's what she said. She wasn't easy to understand because she had a mouthful at the time. How did I end up here in the middle of this nightmare? It was really stupid. I went to work and forgot my briefcase. No, I actually left it in the garage because I set it down to get the cat out from under the hood of my car and forgot about the briefcase. Tabby was our second cat. One cold winter morning many years ago, I forgot to tap on the hood before starting the car, and that was the end of Clarence, our first cat. There's nothing like the sound a cat makes when it gets wrapped up in a fan belt spinning at about 1,000 revolutions per minute, not to mention all that mech flying around. Clarence wasn't smart enough, and apparently neither was I. "You like it, don't you? Who does that pussy belong to?" "You, baby, only you." "You're never gonna let that weakling you call your husband touch my pussy again, baby?" "No, he'll never touch me again, I swear. I probably wouldn't be able to feel his little friend after yours stretched me anyway." My briefcase wasn't really that important, so I was just going to leave it behind, but I had to visit a client who drove me straight to my house to act. Anyway, I turned onto my street and immediately saw a black and white police car parked out front. I felt like someone had stabbed me in the heart. I assumed something terrible had happened to my devoted wife. I drove my 8-year-old Camry into the driveway, nearly hitting my wife's brand-new silver Lexus LS sedan. Her plaster garden gnome wasn't so lucky. I didn't even close the door and ran into the house. That's how I ended up here drinking coffee. Take me now, stud. Make me feel good. God, I've never felt anything better. It was very unpleasant, and instead of coffee, I really wanted whiskey, but I figured I'd still need a clear head. I had to admit that their passionate screams were very disturbing, and seeing it was even worse. But I had to see it, if only to get the necessary video and audio. Honestly, seeing them sleeping in my bed wasn't the most disturbing aspect. The most unpleasant part was the verbal humiliation my wife heaped upon me. God, you're so much better than Evan. Give it to me, baby, all of it. I know I can take it all this time. I know I can take it. Oh, hell yeah. Apparently, this really spurred her lover on because the whole house started shaking along with the bed, and his swearing and grunting went up a few decibels. Okay, yes, he did have more than I did, so excuse me, damn it. If she needed more, she shouldn't have married me. Let me tell you, it's a shock when your wife sleeps with her lover in your marital bed, and yes, they did it on my side. My wife was breathlessly riding him horsewoman style and telling her lover how much it turned her on. That's when I ran to the bathroom, bent over the toilet, and threw up my breakfast. I was surprised they didn't hear or smell it either. I guess they were very focused on what they were doing. Part of me couldn't believe it all, even after I had seen and heard enough to convince the jury of what was going on. But my wife was 50 years old, and the jerk she'd gotten couldn't have been more than 30, and he was really in good shape. My wife was hardly a match for him. Sure, I wasn't macho either, but couldn't the shithead at least go after someone else's wife who was in shape? I don't get it. It seemed to go on forever, but after about 90 minutes it got very quiet. I guess they must have taken a break. Suddenly I heard my wife ask, "What is that smell? That's my special blend. Did you make coffee?" There was no response from her boyfriend. I just heard, "Oh my God," from Audrey, and then a bunch of running around. The sound of closet doors opening and closing, and dresser drawers and laundry baskets. I assumed they were cleaning up evidence of their date. When I peeked into the bedroom, I saw a lot of sex toys, lube, and other performance-enhancing items lying around. I made a mental note to get an STD test immediately. I heard them coming down the stairs. They both appeared in the kitchen naked, wrapped in sheets. They saw me at the same moment. Audrey drew in air sharply because I was there, and my lover did the same. I'm not sure if his shock was at the sight of me or the Smith & Wesson Model 59. He furtively looked in the direction of his uniform and immediately became despondent. "He's not there, stud." "What?" "Your service weapon. Your boss took it with him when he left. Caring guy." He literally started to fade before my eyes, and then I saw his lips quiver. In desperation, he fell to his knees, losing the sheet in the process, and began frantically rummaging through the pile on the floor. "He took this too. I think he called it your throwing weapon." I'm guessing the thing that upset him the most was the fact that the serial number had been taken off of it. Something like 5 to 7 years for that. Former Officer Stad Johnson's shoulders slumped dramatically at this revelation. "Like I said, he's a caring guy. We had a pretty good conversation while you two lovebirds were minding your own business upstairs." Hurd quickly looked out the window to the street. "Yes, he also took the patrol car. Your boss said you were providing security at the construction site. He was going to take your uniform too, but he thought you might need it when you leave here. But where was I? Oh yeah. After Sergeant Marks got his video of both of you and collected your weapons, he spotted my Smith & Wesson and asked me, 'Is that your weapon?' Yes. Licensed? Yes. You know how to shoot it? I do. You gonna shoot any of them? You know we get angry if civilians shoot someone, even if they deserve it. One of the advantages of our job is that we can shoot people and you can't. I promised Uncle Pat, I mean Sergeant Marks, that unless the asshole has a third weapon that we don't know about, nobody gets shot. Your boss said, okay, and headed for the door with the words, "Oh, do me a favor and tell Officer Johnson not to come to the station. We'll call him when we want to talk to him." I've never seen a cop cry before. A lot of good his big friend was doing him right now. It's about time you picked up your weapon. You don't have a third gun, do you? He shook his head negatively. I knew there wasn't because we checked. I was just trying to emphasize my point. I wasn't actually aiming at any of them. I just kind of waved them off and went on with my story. Maybe you could call your wife for a ride home? Probably not. She was too upset about that video I emailed her of the two of you in my bedroom. It was hard to understand what she was saying, but it was something about her father, the police chief. And how could you do that to your children? She told me about them. You seem to have a good family. Too bad. Despite the situation, I was really having fun right now. It was a bit like having a fish on a rod, and I was just playing with it a bit. I'd ask my wife to drive you, but her car's been impounded. What? Audrey's high-pitched squeal. The police impounded your car, Audrey, because there was a couple of ounces of unaccounted-for marijuana in the front seat. Sergeant Mark said they usually just write a ticket if they do anything at all, but he felt they owed me something for all the trouble the police department caused me. Don't worry, he said you can probably pick up the car in a few days after they've done all their forensics. Oh my God. Now she wasn't screaming anymore. It was more of a sad moan, kind of like a lonely little hound howling at the moon. Well, officer, I think it's time for you to put on your uniform and leave. So he did. As soon as he left, my wife regained her speech. Please, Evan, I love you. It didn't mean anything at all. It was just a hobby? Something like that. Oh man, I wish you would have told me that sooner. I was worried you loved him and were going to divorce me. Wow, now I feel bad. I guess I really overreacted, didn't I? I mean, you love me and all. Of course I love you, Evan. Why would you doubt it? Well, aside from the whole infidelity thing, using your lover on my side of the bed and you calling me a stupid idiot covered in crayon, there were other signs. Oh, honey, I never actually did that. It was just bedroom talk to get us horny. Wait, you said you overreacted, Evan. What did you do? So your boyfriend has a 12-inch machine, but you still need to insult me to get turned on? She looked annoyed. Evan, what did you do? Up until now, she seemed to be in a state of shock, but now she was definitely nervous and paying close attention to me. Well, I'm sorry, but just when I thought you didn't love me anymore, I sent the video to our kids. I just wanted them to see who their new daddy would be. You might have to wait a little while before you call them. They seemed upset for some reason. I thought they'd be happy for you. Well, it shows you what I did. Oh my God, you didn't. I just nodded my head. I forgot to mention one more thing, but you probably already know that. Your lover's wife works for the same company as you. I think she mentioned that she works as an executive assistant to the CEO. Don't worry. I told her not to fire you because you'll still need your job, even if you get transferred to Little Rock. When I talked to my attorney, she said that since you make more money than I do, you will be paying me child support for a few years. She thinks it will be somewhere around $3,000 a month. I know most cheating husbands refuse to accept this, the macho kind, but that's not going to happen to me. I plan to take time off from work and go on a long fishing vacation to deal with my pain. As the song goes, deep sea señorita, fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not sure why the lawyer wanted a picture of you. She said it was to give it to your father. Maybe it was so she could give it to all the officers in case they wanted to start any harassment. Or maybe it was to see if any more of them wanted to date you. But at any rate, I gave her a picture that clearly shows your skills. I also sent a copy of the video to your mom and dad and all your coworkers. How could you be so cruel to me, Evan? Oh, honey, I wasn't cruel. I just wanted everyone to know who your new beau was. All your Facebook friends seemed happy for you. At this point, Audrey was almost unresponsive. She just sat on the floor in her sheets, sobbing, shaking her head and muttering, "This can't happen to me." Okay, sweetie. You need to get dressed and pack your bag. Your parents should be here soon to pick you up. I nudged her in the direction of the stairs to get dressed. Pick me up? Well, of course you'll need a place to sleep. They told me you could stay with them for a while. The house will have to be sold as part of the divorce, I said to her afterward. Divorce? You seem to have a few questions, dear. That surprises me. What did you think was going to happen when I found out? Well, I really, you didn't think you'd get caught? Are we going to continue this pointless conversation? It got quiet upstairs for a few minutes. She didn't make a sound except for the occasional wheezing and sobbing. Why do cheaters always cry when they get caught? It's the most horrible thing. If being caught is so unpleasant, then for God's sake, don't cheat. About 10 minutes later, she came downstairs, dressed, but without her suitcase. Evan, honey, we're really... No. Just then, I heard her parents' car pull up in front of our house. Goodbye, Audrey. As always, gentlemanly, I held the door open for her.